Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the investigative journal, and I've got to get a few things off my chest before I talk about John McCain and what Bob Dumas said back in 2005. Because, okay, I said some things in the last half hour. Don't worry, Christians, there's still hope for everybody, okay? But you know something I asked the question about? I asked this question once. Why, I played sports all my life. And I always remember Christian athletes, they're always praising God and, saying, raising their hands to God, doing the sign of the cross. When they win or hit a home run or score a touchdown, but they never do anything when they lose. Like saying, oh, God made me not score that touchdown. God made me not hit that ball. Why do they do that? And that led me to start thinking again of all these sayings I was telling you about in the first half hours that make absolutely no sense, and we just believe them. Now, we know that George Carlin he was a collector of these things. And so I started collecting some of my own, and one I always thought about was, we always say dogs are man's best friend. Now, how the hell do we know that? Have we ever asked a dog? And I bet you if we did, 9 out of 10 would say, no, men are not my good friends. They put us in pounds. They kill us if we're not claimed in 2 days. There's people in the world that eat us. So how is dogs are man's best friend? Now, what about if we said man is dog's best friend? I would say every dog in the world, except your own little lovable pooch, of course. Like I got 5 doggies that aren't going to say man is their best friend. They're going to say Greg is their best friend. And tune in maybe this week if I continue doing my show, because like I said, every day I threaten to quit. I'm going to do a whole show on dogs and my pets, why they're so vital to everything that we do, at least in my world. How about this one? Sweating like a pig. What the hell? Where do we get that one? People don't like animals, I guess. Do you realize pigs don't even sweat? But we say that as if they do. I mean, it's crazy. I love this one. Money can't buy happiness. What a bunch of bullshit that is. Money can't buy happiness. Yeah, ask the people out on the street over there in San Diego that live in a tent and walk up to them and go, hey, money can't buy happiness. How come you're so sad? Or walk up to them and say, here's a $500 bill, even though we don't make any anymore. They're going to smile just like it's the... Today I was I was having coffee, and I started talking to this guy in the restroom, and he started telling me, I was taking a leak, and he started telling me his whole story. I'm really hurt, and I'm really, I just came here, I can't find a job, and, I said, well, money can't buy happiness. And he looked at me and said, you got a couple bucks? So I gave him $1. He was pretty happy. Then this one's always disturbed me. Don't cry over spilled milk. Who the hell is ever going to cry over, I spill a lot of milk. I spill a lot of worse things, and I never cried over it. But we say it all the time. Like, that takes the cake. Well, where are you going to take the cake? I never took a cake. Where am I going to take a cake? And I have to say this. I remember Carla said once, I want to take the cake to the bakery so it can be with more cakes. Then he said something like, how come we can't take the pie? Or we can't take, and I'm adding this, the Danish. Or how come we can't take the bottle of beer? That takes the bottle of beer. But now it's that poor cake. And we never know where we're taking it. Last one. Oh, this one. Before I get into Bob Dumas, this one. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. I've been in a lot of places. A lot of bars at night. It's over. There's never a fat lady there singing. The baseball game at Wrigley Field I go to all the time. It's over. There's no fat lady singing. I've broken up with a few women in my life. There was no fat lady singing. It was over. It was over right there. And there was no fat lady singing. And anyway, why the fat lady? Why not a skinny lady? Why not a fat man? Why not a fat dog? It ain't over till the fat dog sings. Boy, they treat you just worse than a dog. You know, in some cases that's true, but in most cases, most people would love to be treated the way I treat my dogs. I treat my dogs better than I treat most people. And you know why that is? People say, do you really like people? I say, yes, I do. And over the years listening to my show, you may think I don't like a lot of people. But I only like them for a short period of time. And I've said that a long time ago. I can take them for a few minutes at the tops, and then I start saying, oh, God, got to get the hell out of here. But anyway, this show ain't over till the fat lady sings. Okay, I got to get to this because I promised, and I always keep my promises. Boy, that's a lie. I wish do you ever meet somebody like that? I guess I could go on forever. I always keep my promises. There ain't a person alive that's kept every promise they've made. So don't say that. Don't ever say you keep all your promises. You know? I don't even know if I'll be able to keep this one here. And I said I was going to get the McCain. But anyway, I wrote a story in 2017, February 21st to be exact. And that was recalling Bob Dumas, who was trying to find his brother from the Korean War. And he said this, Senator McCain's no hero. And I said he seals his POW records for life. Korean War PO advocate made above claim, yes, calling McCain a traitor. Now that's a little bit different than what they've been calling him all week, right, after his death. Now you can listen to some of my radio shows on this subject. Just Google Bob Dumas. I did it many years ago. And I did write this in 2017, just as a reminder, and then I'll read you the story I wrote in 2005. And tomorrow, come back, as a reader sent me in part of their book they're writing, and I wanted to read the opening paragraphs, because they asked me, they said, Greg, I'm writing this book. Would you please read it on the air? I'm going, whose show is this, mine or his? And then get an idea if people really like it, because I don't want to spend my life writing if I'm no good. I said, I know the feeling. I've spent my life writing and I'm no good. So I don't want that to happen to you. So anyway, here we go. Back in 2017, I said Senator McCain, Republican from Arizona, is a thorn in President Trump's side that just won't go away. And that proved out to be true until he died. It's all started in full swing when Trump, the presidential nominee, said he respects war heroes, but not those who get caught. I thought that was great, because McCain got caught. Oh boy. Does he know something else that we don't know? That most people don't know, that I know and Bob Dumas know? Trump was referring to McCain, declared a hero for withstanding capture during the Vietnam War, supposedly 5 years of torture, etc. Trump's statement drew harsh criticism from even within the Republican establishment, and McCain never had forgiven the president. In fact, just to add to this story, he made it a point to say that President Trump cannot speak give a eulogy at his funeral. I go, good for you. I wouldn't want to speak at that guy's funeral either. So Trump he wasn't even embarrassed. He said, I'll send some of my people to speak. So anyway, McCain this week called out Trump, this was in 2017, for calling the liberal mainstream news outlets an enemy of the people. He went on to say, this is how dictators get started. Oh, really? You know something? We've been under dictatorship for God knows how many years, John, and you're part of it. So it's no secret Trump's pledge to drain the swamp. It's being met by entrenched D.C. establishment of both parties with hatred and outright disdain. But in fact, it isn't the first time McCain's heroic war stories have been questioned. If the truth be told, Trump perhaps had a point but didn't go far enough. Looking back to 2005, the following information presented at Capitol Hill hearings shows McCain opposed getting to the bottom of POWs left behind in the Korean War. And to me, I'm just adding this, that doesn't make sense if he's a real war hero. Don't you think he'd want to help his fellow POWs? But in the Korean War, he didn't want to help, he opposed it. And secondly, he sealed all his records. Why? because maybe they're not true. Further reports showed McCain's capture was a ruse, and even many of his Vietnam prisoners of war said they never saw him in the captivity at the camp McCain alleged to be held. This story below that I wrote here should be revisited, and also listen to my investigative journal interviews with Bob Dumas, who's trying to get his brother back, who was trying to get justice for his brother, who he allegedly was left behind in the Korean War. And he said government has lied for more than 50 years about POWs left behind and still alive in North Korea and Vietnam. Now, Bob Dumas searched for his brother Roger, still goes on. After more than a half century, despite no help and roadblocks, than these roadblocks put up by the U.S. government. He calls the media corrupt, and John Kerry and John McCain, Kerry's gone, now McCain's gone, liars and frauds, for keeping the truth about live POWs from the American people. Needless to say, I'm saying this, I think Bob Dumas should have spoke at the eulogy so these people in Washington get a little dose of the truth. Perhaps. Well, we couldn't do that, could we? We couldn't tarnish the image of these traitors because in our country, the evil ones are considered good, and the people who are the worst enemies of America are considered heroes. And here's what he said. Here's the article in 2005. Let me check to see how much time I got. Oh, God. So much time. Why do we say that, oh, God? You know, another thing that's always upset me, now that we're talking about it, just to give a little break between articles here. When you sneeze, why do you say God bless you? I remember a Seinfeld one asked the same question, and Jerry said something like, when somebody sneezes, say something like, oh, you're so good looking. So let's think of another one that we can say instead of God bless you. How about, oh shit, you just sneezed all over me. Don't sneeze all over me. We'll have to think of a better one than that. You ever been with somebody who sneezes right on you? I don't really care. You know, I don't care if somebody sneezes on me. I'm not a germaphobe. No, I'm really not. That's why I have a strong immune system, and I don't get sick, because I let my body be bombarded by every possible germ in the world, and it's built up this immune system so I don't get sick. Because what if you don't allow germs into your house, then once you get one, you're going to die. Right? It's stupid. You know, ask yourself this question. Every time you go to the bathroom, do you wash your hands? I don't. I really don't. I'm not afraid to say it. Oh, I do if I get a little you-know-what on me, and that happens maybe a little bit every now and then. Then I have to wash my hands. But we all do that. So I'm not crazy about it. I'm not one of those people that runs around going, I got to get every germ out of this house. You know, in fact, you know, the more germs, the better. My immune system is getting so strong that, hell, I may live to be 100. And who the hell wants that? So maybe I'll just start being a germaphobe. But anyway, POW issue has long been a thorn in the side of government, a problem politicians keep pushing under the rug. Despite credible evidence, soldiers were left behind and are still living in political prison camps in North Korea and Vietnam. And this was in 2005. I don't know if they've died since. But high-powered two-faced senators like John McCain and John McCain are the main culprits for keeping the truth from the American people. However, on October 28th, Representative Ron Paul is holding a press conference to revive the issue, officially sending to each legislator on Capitol Hill a copy of an historic video called Missing, Presumed Dead, The Search for American POWs, in an attempt to open new hearings being introduced under House Resolution 123. The following story is about Bob Dumas, whose brother Roger may still be alive in North Korea. Remember, this was written in 2005. In a prison camp after more than 50 years, and his nephew Bill Dumas, the writer and producer of this historic POW video that finally gets to the bottom of some things here. And it says this: most people would fight through hell and high water to find a missing loved one. Bob Dumas really is no different. For 55 long years, he has been looking for his younger brother, Roger, after he was taken prisoner during the Korean War. But despite traveling to the ends of the earth and trying to uncover every small stone imaginable, his brother's whereabouts still remain a mystery. However, Dumas says, a mystery which could have been easily solved decades ago if it wasn't for the criminal activity and outright lies of the United States government by and through many two-faced, high-ranking politicians and military officers still lurking on Capitol Hill today. I bet you some of them are still there. Two of the major corrupt politicians he wants to expose as liars and two-faced traitors in what he calls the biggest military cover-up in the history of our country are former presidential candidate John Kerry, D. Massachusetts, and Senator John McCain. He was the former Republican candidate for president. Right? Did you know he didn't want his running mate, what's her name? The lady who ran as his vice president? Maybe he didn't want her speaking at his funeral because he's going to blame her for losing. And he also calls himself a former POW, declared a national hero, which we heard of over and over for the last week. And here's what Dumas said. He's no hero, said Bob Dumas, 74 years old, in an extended conversation this week from his Connecticut home. He's anything but a hero. Asked why he had the Senate, through Kerry's influence, seal all his POW records in Vietnam. He had these records sealed for life and is hiding the true story of how he sided with the North Vietnamese to save his own skin. McCain sells his fellow PO brothers down the river is a little headline I put there. Even though the true story of McCain's captivity may never be known, backing up Dumas' harsh criticism is a 1992 article written by Ted Sampley in the U.S. Veteran Dispatch entitled John McCain, the Manchurian Candidate, a scathing article strongly criticizing McCain's credibility and truthfulness. I told you a long time ago, don't believe anything these people up in Washington tell you. And that goes for the state houses. That goes probably all the way down to your mayor's offices. Sampley writes, quote, "What therefore motivates a John McCain to attack as a pit bull everyone and anyone who has the opinion that men are still alive in the very same captivity that he himself once experienced. Mr. McCain disguises his attacks on the POW MIA by claiming he's on the committee to ask the tough questions, to grill and berate in order to get the truth. What motivates the man who at the same time has shown a sensitive, almost patronizing approach to U.S. government officials who have lied to the committee? What does motivate him?" Further, Sampley's article gives an eyewitness account, information McCain has since classified, showing how the former Navy fighter pilot's own story told to the American people is filled with holes and many inconsistencies. Greg, speak up. Right. And downright lies. Quote, "After being periodically slapped around for 3 or 4 days by his captors who wanted military information from him, which McCain claims he refused to give, providing only his name, rank, and serial number, he realized he was in critical shape and called for an officer. He told the officer, 'Okay, I'll give you military information if you will take me to the hospital.' Regardless of the reasons, the offer to give military information in exchange for better treatment was a violation of military code of conduct and collaboration number 1. The doctor, according to McCain, said about taking him to the hospital, 'It's too late.' At that point, McCain knew he was in big trouble. According to information obtained by U.S. veteran, the flyer in desperation invoked the name of his famous father, Admiral John S. McCain, Jr., the soon-to-be commander of the U.S. forces in the Pacific. And that was a violation of Code of Conduct Collaboration number 2. McCain admits that because of the Vietnamese having the knowledge of who his father was, he thus survived because they rushed him to the hospital. The Vietnamese figured that because McCain's POW, McCain's father, was such a high military rank that he was of royalty or the governing circle. Thereafter, the communists bragged that they had captured the crown prince. At the hospital, his wounds were treated. He readily admits that other U.S. prisoners with similar wounds were left to die, pointing out there were hardly any amputees among the prisoners who came back because the North Vietnamese just would not give medical treatment to someone who was badly injured. They weren't going to waste their time. McCain has failed to mention in public what he has confided to other U.S. prisoners privately, that since the Vietnamese felt they had in their hands such a special prisoner, a crown prince, a propaganda bonanza, a Soviet surgeon was called in to treat him. So he's getting special treatment here. It's not what he tells people. And to add more fuel to the McCain controversy, according to Bob Dumas, in the forefront of the POW issue for over a half-century, and several Vietnam POWs like retired Navy Captain Eugene Red McDaniel, McCain was given special treatment since he told the North Vietnamese he was the son of Admiral John McCain II, who became Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Forces in 1968, and who actually ordered the bombing of Hanoi while his son was in prison. Let me see how much time. I only got 3 minutes. You're going to come back tomorrow, aren't you, to get the rest of this? However, instead of coming to McDaniel's side, a longtime activist in keeping the POW MIA issue alive in the halls of Congress, McCain has openly called McDaniel a fraud and dishonorable man who preys upon families still unaccounted for in the war. Although McDaniel was unavailable for comment, Dumas said he told him that he was aware of many propaganda anti-American broadcasts made by McCain while in captivity from 1967 to 73 in exchange for special treatment and basically to save his own hide, when many other POWs received no medical care and were left to die. So, if this is true, is this guy really a hero? And maybe this is why he sealed all his documents. You know, even though it's understandable a man trying to save his life may compromise his ethics, the problem with McCain is that he withheld truth and lied about it to people, about his POW record, and without question has not come to the aid of those honorable veterans trying to get at the truth behind the POW scandal. If it ever, says Bob here, Dumas, if it ever becomes known and people find out the real truth about McCain, Kerry, and others, there will be political turmoil. Let's come back tomorrow and finish this up, okay? And I got a lot of other things tomorrow, because I only have about a minute and a half here. Well, let me read one more paragraph. Why not? Why not? What do we got to lose, huh? They both know, says Bob Dumas, there are many POWs still alive all over the world, but instead of admitting there are many MIAs trying to negotiate their release, they just take the easy way out, claiming they're dead. Kerry and McCain have simply sold the POWs down the river in Vietnam, as well as those like my brother, who could still be alive after 50 years in a North Korean prison camp. Okay, we'll do more tomorrow on it. I got about a minute. But now can you see why, this idea that McCain is a hero really is contrived and he's lied maybe? These guys know they're looking for their loved ones. They have no reason to lie. And why would McCain seal his records? Why wouldn't he want to get to the truth about these POWs? He wants to be there saying he wants to get to the truth to cover his own ass. And you know what? He's not here anymore. But that doesn't mean we can't still dig around here. Whatever happened to Roger Dumas in North Korea? Huh? He was left to die maybe. And so were some of his POW friends in captivity when he was being treated like a royal crown prince in the Hanoi Hilton maybe, and not in these dirty prison camps like he said. And these guys said if that's where he said he was, we never saw him. Back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.